Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sketchwave, our weekly show where we talk all things Procreate. And today we've got our very first doodle challenge, our community doodle challenge. So what we're going to be doing is we have created two doodles. James has created one. I've created one. We have not seen each other's doodles yet. We are genuinely doing this on the fly. And then we are going to send the doodles to one another. And then we're going to give ourselves about 45 minutes to 50, maybe a bit longer if we're enjoying ourselves, to create a doodle. You can just join us for a little chit chat while we draw. And more importantly, you can also download the doodle as well. We'll leave links and instructions in the description down below. So check out all the description, all the instructions, and you can download the doodle. And then at the end of the month-ish, we're then going to go ahead and do another episode where we're going to take a look at your doodles. So if you want to participate in the show, all you need to do is just tag us in your finished creations over on Instagram and we'll take a look at it. Again, there'll be instructions in there. The best way that you can go ahead and do that is just to create a doodle, but also keep hold of the doodle lines or whatever James has created. And just make sure you keep it so that we can at least see where you've integrated it in. So we're now going to go ahead and share our canvases to each other. Okay, so we sent each other doodles, and I just immediately thought that you've played it a little bit safer compared to what I thought you were going to do with it. I thought you were going to go somewhere far more abstract and really go for it in terms of stitching me up. I'm gonna really mess around with this one though. I'm gonna see what we can come up with. I'm initially starting by rotating it. Have you got mine on your end now?
I've just put it into Procreate now, yes. So it's a square, isn't it? But whether I leave it as a square, I'm not sure yet. I'm just taking it in, trying to think what I'll do with it. Just for a moment.
And that is what
we'll give ourselves a moment, can't we?
We can. And that is what you can also do if you download them, because we've provided them as Procreate files. You're more than welcome to change the canvas size if you need to, expand them, crop them, whatever you need to do. Just try not to destroy the doodle. Okay, James, I have set the 45-minute timer. Again, feel free to go over if you need to. Are you ready?
I think so, yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's hit start. Now, again, this is just a doodle challenge for everybody watching. We are going to be screen recording our iPads as well. So we're going to preserve, hopefully, the doodle as well, and then work around it and just see what we can come up with, really. I think it's, it'll be interesting to see what we do here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out where to even start with, like, palettes and stuff as well. Like, wow, okay. I'm already a bit stumped. Let's take a look and see what palettes we got. So my one, I think your one leans very like easily in towards like a particular type of landscape. What
the one I've given you?
Do you see? Yes. What do you see when you see the one that I've given you then?
I have rotated it a little bit, so it's not quite at the diagonal. It's made it more visible, more kind of identifiable as something that could be a landscape. I'm going over some of the lines now just to solidify them up. And actually, it now has become much more landscape-like just by rotating it a little bit. So is my microphone? Yeah, I'm just checking my microphone. Sometimes
you're all good.
Yeah, it's all good, yeah. Yeah, so I'm going in with some tonal stuff at the minute. I don't want to talk too much about what I'm doing because then it leaves it more as a surprise for each of us, doesn't it, I guess? I don't know, really. We can talk through it a little bit, but it'd be a shame if we lost the element of surprise. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll see it at the end anyway. I mean, it's. I just wanted to know sort of if you'd seen anything ultimately that sort of came to mind, because with these doodle challenges, it can take a little while, and we have literally gave ourselves, in between a little cut here, about 5 minutes to look at this and say, right, yep, that's where I'm going to go with it. And so we haven't had any prior sort of look at this to say, no, I know exactly where I'm going to go. Also, to be honest as well, we kind of learnt this from last time with the doodle challenge, that the one that we did where we did a time challenge. Yes, we've got 45 minutes today and the sketch is already done, but to a degree, you're almost under the same sort of level of pressure because the actual kind of, the time constraint is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And you're working to somebody else's kind of sketch as well. So it's a bit like, I think it's quite close almost to the previous challenge that we did.
Except that we're not going to be passing it backwards and forwards, are we? So
that is
we can
very
really
true.
lock into it a little bit. And because the difficulty last time was just as you kind of getting a sense of where you would go with it, then you have to swap and then deal with a different image again. So
yeah, definitely. That would be a big help.
Yeah.
But we want to do more of these challenges in the future. So it's a good practice, isn't it, for how we can go about doing it? Because
I've done a relatively safe outline for you on that because this is the first time, but on future ones, I won't be so kind.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds extremely threatening.
But this one is, see, mine's getting more and more traditional looking now. I thought initially I was going to do something a little bit wacky, but
that's what I was hoping you were going to do. It's
gone super safe and conservative, but I might throw a different spin on it and just see where we end up with that. So yeah, we don't necessarily need to talk about these images as such. We did discuss prior to this, we could talk about other kind of topics, didn't we? See
what are you currently watching on telly. There you go. Like, what's the current series you're watching? Without spoilers, obviously.
No. I'm currently watching Squid Game, which is I can't honestly recommend it to any of our regular viewers if they haven't already seen it. Have you seen it?
The
Joel?
Second season? No. I've never seen it.
Yeah, well, we've worked our way through the first season, and now we're working on the second one, and it's pretty brutal stuff. It's not easy viewing. I mean, I find it really entertaining, but it's not for the faint heart or people who are easily psychologically kind of traumatized. Yeah, it's quite a brutal watch, so it's definitely not for everyone. But I'm quite enjoying it. It is good fun. It's well written, if you like that kind of thing. It's a South Korean made Netflix drama. We kind of cheated a little bit, put the dubbing on. Should really have watched it without the dubbing, but yeah, it is very entertaining. I recommend it if you like shocking things, but otherwise maybe stay clear of it. What have you been watching recently?
Just to sidetrack to the actual challenge at hand, I'm going to let you know that I have completely changed where I was going. Okay. I've completely started again, and I'm going down a different route because I've recently been doing a particular style, and I want to see if I can make it applicable to this. So I have quite literally stopped doing what I was doing, and I'm going down a completely different avenue. So that is a bit alarming considering I just lost 5 minutes. But what am I watching? We gave up watching Silo on Apple TV.
Gave up
season 2 previously, and obviously me and you have had conversations about this, about saying no, you shouldn't give up on it. Try and get back into it. Mm-hmm. So we have done exactly that. We have gone back in and started watching it, and so we are one episode off from the ending. So we're already I'm one episode off from being able to talk to you about it.
Yep.
For now, we hold what we've got.
Have you been doing any creative things, or do you get any time for doing creative things this week? Is it all tutorial stuff when you do?
To be honest, I've actually completely detoured this week because I have started a side YouTube channel project that I've wanted to do for quite some time. I've eventually decided to actually do it. I'm open to talk about it, but I've decided to just start doing a Pokemon channel. I love collecting Pokemon cards, and I used to as a kid, and then stopped and recently started playing. They brought out like a mobile game that was extremely popular, and that's kind of it. You collect cards on your phone instead, and I've been I'll buy a few packs here and I'll buy a few packs there, and the actual physical packs, the real life packs, and before you know it, I'm then like, well, let's do it. Let's just make a YouTube channel dedicated to Pokemon. So it's a hell of a detour. However, though, you said about creativity, it has been extremely fun because for me, I've got like other mics, for example. I've got the DJI, which I'm showing to camera now, the DJI mic mini. in its case there. It's a teeny tiny little sort of wireless microphone.
Yeah.
And I don't get to use it very often because it doesn't work necessarily. I don't have a purpose for it. And I love my tech. So being able to have a purpose for it now is extremely fun for me to just mess around. So
awesome.
Massive detour. And it's I'm basically getting about like 6 weeks worth of content together to then be prepared for the whole thing. Yeah. So that I'm 6 weeks ahead. I mean, I was talking to my wife about this because I know we've sidetracked a little bit, but I can talk about it, so it'll fill up a lot of time. But I partly want to do it a little bit as a bit of a challenge to myself to see if I can do it. Like, see if I can do it in another niche that isn't Procreate. I really want to see if, I can take what I've learned from YouTube and do something completely different and really, test myself, put myself out there into a whole different community that I am not a part of normally, and just go for it.
I think that'd be a good thing for you because as well as the art thing. I mean, the art thing for me is it. I'm not a particularly good presenter or talker, but it's something that you seem to have the gift of the gab. I mean, in the best possible way. You really can hold court and just talk, and in a professional way because when we film these, you might imagine that there's lots of takes, and we do have outtakes, we do have bloopers, don't we, occasionally? But the vast majority of it is just as it's seen, really, isn't it? Maybe a couple of gaps taken out here and there where we discuss something particular, but actually you manage to keep the flow of the conversation going, or the actual intros and things like that. So, and I think that's a lot of it, isn't it, with YouTube, being able to talk to camera and keep the flow going. I think I would struggle with that, so I shall definitely give that a check out. When are you thinking of going live with that?
Probably, I reckon I'm going to give myself maybe another couple of weeks, I think, where I can just, again, get that kind of content all stacked up. Again, to kind of the premise, if anyone is actually interested, so there's 1,025 Pokemon. So if someone hasn't, been involved in Pokemon for quite some time, that may be quite a large number now. Back in the day, obviously, it was 151. And I was collecting cards back in, like a kid in the early 2000s, and I haven't, collected anything since. And, 20 years later, I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then I've decided I wanted to set myself, and this is what we talk about when we talk about YouTube, like, what's the story? What separates you that's different? And, all that kind of stuff that goes into YouTube. And so I've decided that, like, my differentiating factor is going to be that I'm going to do, and it's been done before, but I'm going to collect one of every Pokemon in the Pokedex and, like, the best version of them. So, like, if you open a pack, and so there's different oh God, I will stop rambling on it, I promise. But there's different rarities of it, each card. And so if I get like another version of that Pokemon, I can upgrade it to the new one and replace the old one for a new one that's more rare, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so a bit of a challenge to it. And mathematically, the challenge could easily take over a year, because I'm not like, if not longer than that, because I'm not like I'm not investing hundreds and hundreds of pounds every month. I'm like a normal person, just buying stuff if I see it in the shop maybe, and whatever I can get access to, kind of stuff. So there's a very high likelihood that this challenge will go on for years, potentially, genuinely, like a couple of years easily. So yeah, I think there's just like this overarching story to it, which
very cool.
It could be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. A bit nervous, to be honest with you, I must admit. Like, you're stepping into a niche of other people, we know what we do all the time with Procreate, and that, you can come across as like, everything about Procreate in that way, you know what I mean? In the nicest way possible. But when you step into another niche, it's a bit tricky. Anyway, so that's what my creativity has been this week. Because
very cool.
I have been having fun creating content that is not tutorials.
Yeah. But
at the same time, we said this before in a previous episode, and I will 100% stand by is it helps me be more creative. It helps me want to pick up my iPad and do something different, or like the next tutorial I'm picking up. I want to absolutely smash it. You know, I don't want to do like a really like easy tutorial. I want to be like, boom, here we go. And because I've actually been kind of working on this in the background, like I feel like my YouTube tutorial that's coming out the week that we're recording this, you know, I'll have a charcoal duckling that's going out on YouTube, and that's, you know, for me that's one that I feel like I, you know, pushed the boat out a little bit on, and I feel you know, I'm really happy with it, and I'm looking forward to people seeing it. And we that's one that I feel like that kind of fell right into that. What do you know, you said in the past that you know, draw and stuff for yourself, but and we've loosely had this conversation sort of many times, but is there anything that you've been doing that's like quite creative in your own time this week, or even just in general lately?
Yeah, I've got a couple of MDF, which is like composite kind of wood, isn't it? MDF boards that I'm painting on. So I've done canvases a lot in the past, acrylic paint on canvas, but they take up a lot of space, and also the grain of the canvas the canvas material grain means that sometimes getting those fine little details. I tend to work very thin with the acrylic paint, and working on board where it's a really smooth surface is I've started doing it recently, and it's going really, really nicely. So I've kind of been doing kind of like things inspired by nature, not landscapes at all, just more like tree bark textures and things like that. So I did start them ages ago. I think I posted them on Instagram. I've discussed them a few times here, but I will at some point actually share what I kind of do in my own time a little bit. But yeah, I've been enjoying doing those. It's been a nice break. I think, especially when you do a lot of digital, you can find that yourself just looking at screens all the time, and actually, you know, as much as I do genuinely enjoy doing digital work, it can get a little samey. So to have traditional paints out and just think about it in a totally different way has been quite good fun.
Yeah, 100%. I totally can see how that would be nice and refreshing to just do something in a different space, a little bit different, and gives you the energy and the creative juices kind of flow. You know, do you ever feel like with with the YouTube stuff that like, because you get kind of, do you ever feel like you can get locked in a lane almost, and then, you know, you feel like you have to kind of replicate or, you know, keep going with it in a similar vein most weeks, in a sense?
Sure. I mean, I don't know whether I feel locked into it, but you tend to get in a kind of a style, don't you? Certain things that people like maybe expect. I suppose that is, I suppose by definition, kind of being locked into it. But I do tend to circle around similar kind of themes, and maybe it's just running out of ideas more than anything. That's why I started to introduce the kind of the structural elements, just because it would push me in a different direction, which was useful. But yeah, I suppose they can get a little bit, you know, you get, like you say, get locked into a certain thing that you find you're circling around again and again. I mean, what I'm doing at the moment is actually quite related to stuff that I have done. Should we give any spoilers to each other as to what we're doing?
It's totally up to you. I mean, I'm pretty happy at the minute to kind of carry on as I am. But if you've got something you think you want to kind of give me a little hint of, it's totally up to you. We can do. Listen, we've got to think about the content for the people.
Yeah, maybe save the reaction.
So when you say what you're doing right now, you mean as in the piece that you're actually working on in this challenge? I'm not doing it.
I'm not juggling at the same time or anything.
No. So we discussed like a couple of TV shows. What about film? Like, do you ever get a chance to like go to the cinema or anything? Is that something that you enjoy doing, like going to the cinema, or is it stay at home ideally?
I do. Last time I've been to the cinema was with the kids, so a bit trickier really when you got the two kids. But what did we see? We saw, oh gosh, there's like a robot one with a bird that's adopted by a robot. Right. Actually, really good.
Okay. Well, is it like a Pixar or something? Or?
Yeah, it's in that ilk. Gosh, I can't remember what it's called now, but that was actually really, really good.
Oh, cool.
And we saw like one of the Minions movies recently as well. That was all right as well. You kind of have to set your expectations of movies a little bit different when you go in with the kids, and it's not really about you anymore. So
yeah.
So if you can enjoy it at all, then it's a bonus. How about yourself? Have you been watching anything? Do you get to the cinema or do you just watch it at home?
I love the cinema, but we don't tend to go that much. And I think, I've said that for ages. I wish the cinema would just the cinema companies would do just like a subscription, like a that you pay and then you can just wander in because you wouldn't have to think about it. It's that kind of, okay, we'll go. And then what's on? But imagine having I feel like if you had a, pass to the cinema and then you could just wander down, see what's there and you just sit and watch it in the same way that you would at home.
Some cinemas definitely do that. When I was living in Stockport, there was the Light Cinema. And I think they're a chain of sorts, but yeah, we had an annual pass, and it would before we had kids, and then it kind of forced us into thinking, well, we've paid for this, we might as well go out and watch a movie. It's not going to cost us anything. So, but yeah, they do exist.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's just you'd just be like, yeah, cool. Let's just pot it down there in the same way that you'd sit on your sofa and just go, well, we'll chuck that on and see what happens. Yeah. But it's more immersive. Oh, I tell you what, this is something I must rave about. And I really hope there's someone in the comments that equally has this. So we've got an Apple TV box and both got AirPod Pros. And the coolest thing you can do with it is if you put your AirPods in, the box itself will ask you, do you want to connect your AirPods to the telly and watch it? So you can watch it and listen to it through your headphones. And it is unbelievable. It's so good. It's so immersive. And there's moments where you're you forget that you have headphones. You have earphones. The little in-ear ones.
Sounds like you're in the space. Yeah.
And it's so immersive and so good. And you know what it's like when you're at home. Sometimes you'll potentially pick your phone up or something like that, or you hear a buzz and you just give it a quick scan, and then 5 minutes passes and you're like, wait, can we just whiz it back a second? Because I've totally lost where we are in the film. And so but it just eliminates all of that. And we watched a film on Apple TV, which was The Gorge. Yeah, it was actually really, I feel like based off the conversations we've had, you would actually quite like that film.
Right.
But it was good. It was good. I won't say anything else for anybody wondering. But yeah, it was very, very cool and very different. I am someone, I'm a bit of a pain in the ass for it, to be honest, because I will watch a film and I'm constantly going, well, I know where this is going. And working it out almost. But this film, I loved it because I had no idea what was about to happen, what was happening next. And also because I had no idea. I'd not watched a trailer or anything. The missus had been like, oh, I've seen this on TikTok. We should maybe watch it. And I was like, okay, fine. And then going into it completely unknowing was actually quite fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Some of the Apple stuff is really good, actually, isn't it? Some of the series. And I don't know about the movies so much, but I have enjoyed quite a few of the series on Apple TV. They've been pretty consistently good quality.
Yeah, they are. They're very good. And they just, I don't know, part of me feels like film has changed a little bit in some ways because they maybe there's less build up and stuff these days compared to what there used to be. So there's more, I almost feel like I can get closer to the action a bit quicker because they kind of maybe understand the audience's attention maybe has changed over time, which is obviously an awful thing to say. It's bad that you can't sit through a film without thinking, God, will you hurry up and get to the point? But sadly, that might be the way. I can hear you absolutely dapping away. What's going on there? Typically tapping?
Textures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite pulled together yet. It's getting there.
Do you want to give me a hint as to what kind of
have you seen Star
period
Wars?
Of day you've gone?
Have you seen Star Wars?
Negative. You're stitching me up now. Someone in the comments going to go, yeah, Joel's too young. Yeah.
There's a kind of
nonsense
fight between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker on a kind of a lava planet. So
okay, cool.
That's yeah, that's about all I can say really. That pretty much basically tells you everything you would need to know.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. This is why I wanted to do this challenge as well, because like you have this whole other style that I don't think gets a chance to get aired on YouTube very much.
It's not necessarily the best representation of it, this, to be fair.
No.
It's getting thrown together a little bit, but bits of it I can see promise in, but I think I might have done myself a disservice with the time frame we've got, but we'll see.
You reckon?
Yeah. How's yours going along? Is it gone down the conventional landscape?
Yep, it has gone down a landscape route. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that actually. At the minute, it's working out quite nicely. I'm just trying to work in some nice sharp details. So it's just.
What have you done for the color palette then? Have you grabbed an old one or? I
think if I told you, you would know the whole thing. But I can tell you if you want to know. I can tell. I sent you a photograph, didn't I, of a recent a tutorial that's coming out this week on YouTube of my charcoal duckling.
Yes.
And I have followed suit.
Right, I got you. So it's grayscale.
Grey. Yes. It is. And I don't know why, I've kind of lately thought to myself, I think I could do this all the time and not do colour. I've almost kind of fallen in love with like the romantic kind of look of it and the fact it is just so, I don't know, it's like one less thing to, in a way, it's one less thing to think about. Yeah. But I don't mean that in kind of a, I want to find a shortcut to everything in life. I don't mean that at all. Like, I mean it in the way that it just allows you to like think less about it. I mean, we spoke about this with Aurélie when she came on the show, Aurélie Marron, one of our deep dive episodes. You know, we said in there, like, you know, if she has challenges that are monthly and they have like a bit of a guide to them, a bit of a kind of requirements almost. And it kind of makes you think less because you don't have to think about it that much. Do you know what I mean? So
definitely. I think probably the better way to, I mean, you know, to make it sound like it is to focus on certain elements of it and then really do a deep focus on certain bits. It's not that it's easier necessarily, is it? It's, you know, I think that you're focusing in on certain elements and then you can really go to town on those aspects, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a bit, I don't know, something about the kind of aesthetic that I'm really enjoying at the minute. Yeah. And I was thinking of ways could I blend it into other things. And to be honest, this challenge is absolutely perfect because this is exactly what I wanted to try and do. I think to myself, is there another way that I can do it without having to do like a subject, like a duckling or a bird, or any other type of bird, for example. Now we've got 20 minutes left, so we've still got I feel like I've got plenty of time still, which is good. How do you feel about that now? And you got
just
20?
About, yeah. It's not quite the level. Well, it wouldn't be. Would it the level of refinement I'd like? And there's still elements that I feel like need refining quite a bit. But yeah, what
do you recommend that our sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. What do you think our followers should, like, if you're following the challenge, what sort of time frame do you think? Do you think people can spend an unlimited amount of time, or what do you think? I
think so. Yeah, I think people will do what they want to do anyway, regardless of what I say about the matter. So if people are enjoying it, and I think with anything, if you're enjoying it, just keep going. You know, there's no need to be restricted. Like certain details that I'm doing now, if time was unlimited, I could spend quite a long time on some of them, way longer than we're giving ourselves. So.
That's the thing with these time challenges that we do, regardless if it's this doodle challenge or if it's the timed one that we went backwards and forwards in. You know, in a typical normal world, we're not spending that much time. Like we need far more than that potentially. And just more for exploration, I would say, more for just being able to check, you know, have I got the right brush here? You know, all that kind of stuff, like, and see if there's alternative, better options potentially to the scene. Because there's something I think, for me anyway, I kind of looked at from the last challenge and was like, yeah, that was actually a bit of a struggle because we didn't get that time to just mess with brushes, see what fits a bit more.
So
go on.
was just going to say, when you're doing work, did you? I asked you the question. I don't know. I should know what you actually gave as an answer now. It makes me look very bad if I didn't listen properly. But I was asking you if you get a chance to do much of your own work, and what did you say? Did you say you do or you don't? Is it all your tutorial stuff?
I never I never draw unless it's for purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that is sometimes I feel like that's a sad thing. But it's just circumstantial. It's the fact that
you've got other jobs, haven't you? Yeah.
I've got and then I've got I've got a day job on the long side. I wish I had all day every day to be able to be like, let's just do what I want creatively and go for it and draw pure freedom every day. But I feel like if I have to draw, I have to draw with purpose so that it's content and I'm not wasting time. It's something I feel like I've got to kind of sort of pat myself on the back for a little bit with this whole like YouTube stuff, because the just making sure you are locked in and you do make sure it works, otherwise it doesn't work. It's as simple as that.
Because I've been doing the canvas painting stuff and it isn't being recorded, so I've been enjoying kind of listening to music while I do it, and I realised that that's one aspect that I haven't been getting, obviously, doing the tutorials. I mean, I add music afterwards, but I find that the listening to music just does something to my brain and allows me to think differently and imagine things differently. So, that's one thing that I find that is really good about finding, if you can, the time to do your own work, is that it just allows your brain to not switch off, but just meditate a little bit more when you've got setting up your environment, and it's a little bit something that is a little bit pressurized, isn't it, when you're recording a tutorial? It's not quite the same experience. My real passion is to sit down and do my own work and create the environment and relax and just chill out with it a little bit. But so I've been doing a little bit more of that.
That's good. Should you feel like that change is good for you, like to be able to do it differently? Yeah,
definitely. Because YouTube is officially what I do. I'm creating a second course, and I do Patreon a little bit, and then I do my YouTube thing. But that is what I do now. I used to be full-time teaching, and that wouldn't necessarily leave me a lot of time. But I have managed to build into my week now the time that I can actually pursue my own creative interests a little bit more, which is, I'm incredibly lucky with that. I really do value that. It's been a long time coming in that sense, but yes, it's nice. I think I need it psychologically. I think when I don't get that, I struggle with regulating my kind of psychological well-being a little bit. And it is like that. I think it's a real necessity sometimes, is to be creative.
Yeah.
And tutorials are fine, but they're not creative in the same way for the teacher. As much as I can enjoy elements of it, it's nice to do your own thing as well.
Totally get on board with that. Couldn't agree more. Definitely. The you need to be able to do something for yourself. I mean, it's like anybody who is a digital creator. A lot of the time they'll have maybe some little freelance jobs on the side that's different from their day job, because it's just like that extra little bit of something on the side to do the juices, get your creative juices going, that's slightly out of the norm of your day job and stuff, which can be quite restrictive. And
do you think the Pokemon channel is going to scratch that itch and give you, or is it just a personal challenge to see if you can do it? Is that the thought behind it?
I don't know if I've got some sort of something I don't know. Everybody seems to want to self-diagnose these days with everything and anything, just because you have a passion, kind of thing. But, I go to bed thinking, wrapping up what I've done that day, like a bit of editing or whatever, and then that's all I think about is okay, cool, we're moving into the next thing. What's tomorrow? And it's just all. I mean, it's the same with this YouTube channel, JoelCreate as well. I hyperfixate on these things, and I love it. At the same time, YouTube has provided me with so much purpose for my creativity, and purpose is the best word for it, because it's it just allowed me to constantly be creative. I mean, back in the day, like I'd just do stuff, for example, like and create content that people could use, like on Bebo, for example, back in the day where you could have skin. I mean, we spoke about this before, but you could skin your page basically to look like a, with a skin design that someone had made, and go from there. And that to me, if I reflect back on it, was kind of like this early idea for me of content creation, because the you'd make skins and stuff and they get made used by people, and you could see the quantity of those like usages. And, I had skins that were being used by like thousands of people all the time, and they, I'd be like, all right, I've got to pump out the next one. I've got to pump out. And when I think about it now, it's actually quite heavily, I guess, maybe sort of sunk into me now, even since as a kid, of being like, those types of regular requirements are there in a different format, no matter what, whether it's like back in the day as a kid creating skins on YouTube, that's like Bebo, or it's now creating videos on YouTube, whether it's tutorials or doing this channel or doing my second channel or the Pokemon channel and so on. It's like all these things. I just realized I need that kind of
overachiever,
repetition.
Joel. I've just noticed the timer hasn't. We paused for a moment there. The time has not been reset, but we can.
We can carry on anyway. It's just more there as a guide, isn't it?
Yeah, the viewers will just have to accept that we might be a moment or two off the exact. Are you able to set it going again? I think we might have to stop like 2 minutes before the end just to try and approximate.
That's if we want to hit that sort of time frame. Yeah, we can go till we're. I mean, I must admit, this particular design, I would probably be able to sit on this for a long time.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I might actually need you to say, you want to go, see your family,
stop.
Call it a day, fair enough. It would just be me still in the video on my own, just drawing.
But you do work very hard, and I work hard in my own other ways as well, and I've got family stuff and all the rest of it. But you do work. You've got a lot of energy to put into different projects as well as your job. You take a lot on.
I do. And it's just, I don't know, just want to try all these things and see what happens. And I guess it's a little bit of like wanting to see what happens with it, see where it goes. But at the same time, there's a rule there of this new Pokemon kind of venture thing that is the same rule that I'm applying to JoelCreate. And that is, I'm drawing for me. I'm not drawing for anybody else. I'm drawing for me. I will draw what I want to draw and find interesting and so on. And I'm not doing it for money, not doing it for, to appease other people in terms of, like I'll draw what anybody asks me to do. You say you want a portrait design or whatever that week, I'll make sure it's a portrait, none of that.
Yeah.
I'm drawing for me, and it's you can follow along with my journey, or you can, if you don't like the content, fair enough. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be documenting my kind of collection of all of that, and then see if people want to follow suit and come along for the journey. I think that's quite important with this kind of your own content that you do on the side, of having some sort of ruling in there, so that you're very, you take responsibility for your own mental state and so on. I mean, the words that stick with me is when we had an episode with Flo, and she said the words, she has to be kind to herself, and if she, take time off and do what she wants to do. And I love that. Couldn't agree more with her. She has got it absolutely nailed it. And that's why, she's the biggest Procreate channel. She understands all those kind of things that you need to do to, succeed and whatnot. And one of those is, making sure you don't fizzle out, especially with what we do.
You don't want to burn out. Yeah. You need to be able to make it sustainable, don't you, over the longer period?
It might be.
I definitely do less than both of you. I do less than, in terms of hours put in per week, I definitely do less than you and Flo. But I know my own limitations. I know that I've got a certain amount of energy and spare time in a week, and if I go over that, I'll start to just burn out and not do the same job personally. So, I stick within what is comfortable and try and just do the best I can with that time.
But you don't need to put I feel like you've got such a talent with what you do anyway, with your skill set and the way you can make content look as, so realistic so easily, that it's almost like you don't need to be like saying to yourself, well, I need to be doing X amount of content each day, because the stuff you make is so spectacular that
Well, that's
people
very kind,
enjoy it
thank you.
so much that, it just, it's almost like when you see like footballers and they're just like, they're retired for so many years and then they just kick a ball again. You're like, no, this guy, it's not about like practice or anything anymore. It's just like, it's just baked in, it's just skill. What do they say? It's like, oh God, form is temporary, class is permanent, that kind of thing. And
well, I'm very flattered by that description. Thank you.
Yeah.
So very, very kind. But I do love art, I mean, I wouldn't be doing YouTube if it weren't for it being art, and because I definitely don't feel I have the presenting skills or the desire to do much else, really. I mean, I've got other things that I do, but art is the one thing that I feel like I have some authority on, at least, at least the confidence to put myself on camera and in some capacity and show the world. But I tend to be a little bit, I don't know, self-effacing and a little bit talk myself down and out of things, otherwise, which is silly. But the one area where I don't do that is art. I kind of know the time I've put in and I know the skills I've acquired, and it's the one area where I can sit comfortably with knowing that I can do it, and
totally.
I've got something to offer some people, at least.
I do think that's a bit of like the kind of YouTube almost curse in a way, that like you can't help but look at people around you and think, oh, should I be doing more or less? Like even to the point where like you could look at people outside your niche and say, well, they seem to be doing a lot. Could I be doing more in my niche and so on to be like, reaching those levels? And at the same time, like you've worked hard to get to where you are, to the point where you can do this for a living. And the fact that, you've earned the rewards of that by, for example, based on what you just said a second ago, of being able to, do less in a week,
got some free
enjoy
time,
yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. And do all that kind of extra work that you were talking about without sacrificing, time with your family or time away from your YouTube channel and so on. Like, that would ultimately cause you some additional stresses and whatnot.
I'm aware that there's definitely things that could be done. I mean, YouTube has moved on. I mean, when I first started doing my channel, it was possible to have quite a basic setup, and there was no. I mean, there were YouTubers that were pretty good with the whole editing and the style and the content, but things, as a general rule, most of YouTube has moved on quite a lot since then. But I've kept my format pretty basic, really, and there's definitely things, bells and whistles, that could be added, but I don't feel like I want to go over the top. I've had a couple of animations here and there, but even then I've gone a bit far with it and dialed it back at times, So,
yeah.
I'm quite happy just to keep it a relatively no frills format, and all the attention goes on the artwork itself, really. I mean, you see some channels, and I suppose in some ways they're probably really entertaining and more fun and catch the casual viewer. And as much as we do get people saying, I don't actually do any artwork, I just like to watch it, I think the majority of people probably watch us to follow along, and it's very much wanting to do the tutorial, aren't they, rather than sit and just listen to us. As much as that does happen in some instances, I think the majority actually want to acquire some knowledge. So yeah, I don't feel too inclined to adapt to the format too much, although I'm aware that I haven't really spent a lot of time really cultivating a new approach or keeping up with the kind of the trends on
there's
YouTube.
Not really a lot of space for that in our space. I don't
maybe
think.
Not.
Like there's not that many areas like to do it, because we make tutorials that are top down shots, and you're the content. You can say about like adjusting the content, but the content is a tutorial. That's the most important part. Like if the tutorial's not good, then there's no video. So
it's true.
If you've got your weekly viewers consistently coming and viewing your content, then that's the format and the changing of it's not really necessary, is it?
But I guess you have channels like, is it Draw with Jazza?
Yeah.
Which I guess appeals to a maybe a younger demographic. I don't really know. But there's that kind of talking to camera a lot more and things like that within the context of a tutorial. But I just think I'd be spending too much energy on getting that aspect to be half decent even, and then it would just take away from the teaching part of it, which I think is the important bit anyway. So.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think also like someone like Jazza, super talented, amazing at what he does, everything, and he's a personality more so, isn't he? Than I'm not sure if he does like kind of tutorial style content. I have no idea whatsoever, but
I think he does teach stuff, but but it's not the only thing that he does, and it's certainly not it's not the only thing. I'm sure I've seen him do actual teaching of subject matter though. I've not really sat through a lot of his content, honestly, but I'm aware of him.
We should get Jazza on here. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, right. I don't know how many followers he's got, but it's definitely more than us combined times 10, I think.
Hey, listen, he's going to see this time challenge. He's going to see this doodle challenge and go, that's a bit of me. That's a bit of me. Boys, I'm in.
Yes.
Boys, I'm in. Let me know a time and a day. I'm there. I can't wait to see everybody's variations on this. And I hope potentially you don't take too much from our designs as well. Really try and go to town on you. Make it your own. Have fun with it. See what you can come up with. I'm not saying don't, if you go down there, especially with what I've got here, you don't have to, if you can't change this one too much potentially, and if you really flipped it, rotated it, duplicated it, everything in between. But I think I can't wait to see people's variations, because especially if they're going to do like this one as it is like potentially a landscape, that they can do something completely different time of day, different lighting angles, different, everything in between. I've said that. I think I've said that about 100 times in this episode. I do apologize. Someone commented on the time challenge previously and said Joel needs to stop talking. So if I'm so much, which was just horrific to read, which is luckily we're quite thick-skinned, to be able to do all this stuff. It only kept me up for about 3 or 4 nights, but it's the so the fact I've been saying the same thing over and over is potentially getting absolutely battered in the comments.
No, I feel like I've been talking a fair amount. You're not hogging all of the conversation at all.
It's been in the back of my mind the whole time, James. That I just can't keep talking so much. You try to host a show or at least keep it running, and just get hounded for it. Whatever. Yeah. This time is telling me we've got just shy of 4 minutes. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of reaching the point where I'm going to struggle to make it what I would want it to be in the time left anyway, even with another half an hour. So I think I'd have to spend another 3 hours on it probably to get it to what I'd actually want. I feel like I haven't got enough separation of different regions though.
As a first episode and a first sort of trial of this, not a trial of it, but the first attempt at this, how do you feel it's gone though on your side based on your design? Are you happy with it for what it is in a doodle challenge and so on?
Yeah, I really wasn't anticipating going down a landscape, honestly. I was thinking, give me any doodle and I'll turn it into some weird sci-fi blob with
That's what I was hoping you would
tentacles do. And all sorts of strange stuff coming off it. But it's totally not that in the end, and I'm surprised at myself, really. But I think considering the time limitations, I'm not totally dissatisfied with it. Is yours up to the standard of a tutorial, would you say, or is it a little shy of that?
I mean, I would make this as a tutorial for sure.
Yeah. Would you change it though? Would you add more to it, or is it sufficient?
No, I'm pretty happy with it actually as it is. I mean, potentially what I imagine is the tree at the distance, based on the kind of structure of it, maybe I should have maybe carried it, but I'm trying to stick to the doodle. That's the thing. But I would extend it maybe slightly higher and above into the top of the sort of canvas, as if it leaves the scene a little bit more, just so that it makes sense in terms of scale. At the minute, I would say it looks like it's potentially like a little bit too small in terms compared to like the trees around it. But again, I'm just trying to stick to the doodle, because what I personally really don't like quite so much in the doodle challenges that I've done in the past is when people really just change the doodle too much. They make it too, they distort it, they break it, they change it, you know, and they bend the rules a little bit and try and take our doodles for what they are, incorporate it somewhere, or just, you know, whatever you see, obviously. But don't like chop and change it, distort it in any way that takes it away from what the challenge was in the first place. It's not necessarily meant to be too easy, is it? At the same time, it's meant to be a bit of a challenge for you. It's not something that you were, you know, attempting to draw purposely. The one thing that's been quite fun for me in this challenge, if I'm allowed just a few more minutes of time just to speak, is that the
you said enough, Joel. Give it a rest.
yappy. Is kind of almost like a one layer challenge. It's there's not really a lot of room for me in the kind of style that I'm doing to mess around with multiple layers too much, and it is all on one layer. Literally one. So 42 seconds. I'm going to leave mine as is. I'm really pleased with it. I am going to just leave it as is and get ready to send it over to you. James, you've got about 30 seconds left.
Right.
Don't want to put the pressure on, but I'm not doing an extra 5 minutes so that you have to wrap.
Yeah. Oh dear. I started to try just add a little extra bit of texture at the end, and anyone watching will see I'm really not having success with that little detail. So
got a question for you. One last little question of chatter before we finish. Have you got any tattoos?
Tattoos?
Yeah.
Yes, I do actually. Just one that's a symbol from when. There you go. When I got married, it's a little. Stop that timer. Sorry. Yes, I do. Yes, I actually have done. I've trained to do tattooing as well. So I do actually do tattoos. Although I don't work in a premises now. So I've done it just as a hobby. So yeah. How about yourself? That's a random question, but yeah.
Well, it's random, but I was just stroking my face and I thought when I'm wearing hoodies and stuff, I forget about my tattoos, and I was like, oh, I wonder if James has got any tattoos. No, I'm completely covered. Like genuinely, completely covered. I have 2 completely full sleeves that go all the way up. They connect across my chest. They come across. It's all the way kind of round my neck as like one big piece that kind of wraps all the way around, and then it kind of goes to the underneath of my bosoms to about here, and then there's a gap, and then I've got both my ribs done. It wraps over my shoulders onto my back. It's
lots of hours.
There's no gaps.
Yeah, wow.
That's an 18-year-old with a credit card. So just went for it. And then 2 on my ankles as well, either side. But the coverage is pretty cool. Anyway, let's start. Joel, you're talking too much. Let's go ahead. Let's stop our little recordings here, and then let's send each other our designs and take a look. Okay, so we've sent each other our designs. We've not opened them yet. We're going to take a look at them together. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go second. Look at your one first.
Okay, so we'll both open it and take a look. So I went with a charcoal design for this one. And I've left the layer of the doodle in there as well, so you can crank it all the way up to the top and take a look at it. I try to respect every element. Certain things, for example, like a tree that I can see, which you'll be able to see on screen now as a quick example. Maybe I've exaggerated the base of the the tree roots into the ground. I needed to drag them out a little bit or slightly widen them. So I've stuck as closely as I could in terms of respecting the different layers to every single part. This is a little bit of a charcoal fun design. Left-hand side, quite dramatic lighting. Get that nice drag of the trees on the left-hand side across. In a little bit more time, I would have probably carried on the shadows a bit more and tried to deteriorate the path a bit more. In terms of like let that shadow just drag across, but I got a bit wrapped up in some of the details at the front.
It's really nice. I like the sketchiness of it. I like the looseness of it. It really adds something to it. But also the kind of the soft, almost like a watercolor effect, isn't it? Where it is like on a watercolor paper, where it just bleeds out at the edges. That kind of soft edges to it. It's really nice. I really like the contrast of light and the overall look about it when you first take it in is really dynamic. I think it's really, really nice. but then really nice
It's
textures in it as well.
Yeah, the charcoals are just so fun. This is why I think I've been enjoying it a lot, because you can just use the grain. In the bottom left hand corner, even though it's all shadowed, you've got lots of little speckles of like greys in there that could allude to the fact that there are little blades of grass there, but I don't need to go and draw them. I think this type of style, and you're saying about the lighting, I start off with a light grey background kind of wash almost, just to get me with some greys in there, and then add in the like a mid grey, and then a slightly darker grey again, and then a black. So I'll always make my way through those kind of stages, and then it's about erasing and just like erasing through all the gaps. And because you're erasing all the way through to white at the very back, the whites pop against the light grey wash that you gave it as well. So everything's got that like light grey wash to it, but then I say wash, it's just smudged charcoal. The really cool thing with this is, which I've done in my latest tutorial, is if you go to your preferences and gestures and actions, you can turn on that smudge is only activated by your finger. So just like in real life, if you had a charcoal pencil and you're drawing on it there, and then you just, you do that kind of gesture where you move the pencil to the side slightly, don't you, and then smudge with your finger, you can do that exact same thing with the charcoal. It's so fun and just like natural. It's just amazing. So you set the smudge up brush wise, ready to go, and then you just crack on. You don't need to do anything. Very intuitive, but I think this type of style for me is quite fun because it just makes sure you focus on like the lighting, like completely, like what is the light source and where are the shadows, and you have to really respect both of them and give yourself some nice contrast to work off of at the same time as giving yourself some highlights. That's where the light grey wash comes in, just so that there's at least like a mid-tone in there. And your highlights can pop against it. So I actually really enjoyed this one, and I equally agree. The kind of somewhat scribbly kind of effect and sketch-like areas are quite fun. Just keep it really simple and nod to it.
No, I do think that this was I was relatively kind on this one this time, but watch out on future episodes. They may get more,
oh god,
deliberately awkward shapes to deal with.
No, let's do it. But if I just very quickly, you'll be able to see on screen as well, and James, you can. If you go to the layers and turn off, keep the doodle on at the top, you can see at the bottom there's 3 layers that I was going through the process of doing. I had this like dark green, very vibrant, saturated, like a twisted tree. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to do this and put it in there. And I thought, we'll just do one layer and we'll just do charcoal. So, that's where we ended up. James, I'm dying to have a look at which one you've got in here, and let's open it up together. For it. So I'm going for it now. Awesome. Talk me through it.
Well, I was...
Oh, the doodle. Cool.
The doodle. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You put it back in.
Yeah.
Some of the shapes have got a little bit lost. But they were there as the basic premise. They were there. And then the more I've worked in it and forgotten about the lines of that image, they've got a little bit kind of flexible and moved around a little bit. It wasn't intentional. It's just after a certain point, you turn off the layer and you keep going, and then it kind of like the jagged edges at the bottom of the two. Yeah. There's 2 bits that come in there. There's like a jagged edge, and that actually ended up getting lost, didn't it? But I mean, initially when I first looked at it, just having the line drawing on its own, where has it gone? Yeah, I could have turned it into. I initially thought about like tree textures, just because I've been doing that a lot with traditional mediums, traditional paint. But then I turned it, and it instantly. And then when I first started adding the shapes to it, I could easily see it being. I mean, if you watch, as people watch the replay of it being constructed, once I was adding the greys onto it, I could have easily gone with blues and greens and really made it a more traditional landscape, and it probably would have been more effective had I done that. But I just thought, no, I'll do something a little different. And I do love doing lava. I've done lava before. Not the easiest thing to do in the time frame necessarily, and I would want to spend longer on it. And I think if I had more time to spend on it, I would probably add more of the little flicks of lava and perhaps have it running down there a little bit more convincingly. But I'm happy with some of the colours and some of the textures in there. There's little bits that I think have potential.
This is where I was expecting you to go with it. That much darker, kind of less less anime style completely. This is, when I see this gives me a bit of a nod to, like, I remember watching some of your really early videos a while back, and they had like these kind of foreign kind of landscapes or like elements to them, or very kind of like, you know, dark and rich with, you love a quite in the older stuff, I think more of like a warm, like fiery kind of light source and glow, and this is just right up there. I love the little speckles of the lava flowing up into the air, and also the little areas of lighting as well, how it like creeps in between some of the kind of towards the right hand side in the middle where it kind of comes in as a piece of land there. It's almost like the lava is settled, but it's still burning heavily underneath it because you've got the glows in between. I would absolutely love to see how long it would, like how long you could actually continue to put into this, because it would be so interesting to see like all the, you know, fine detail that you could potentially put in there.
I could spend another 30, 40 hours on it, and this is the kind of
that's what I mean.
Seriously, yeah, it wouldn't necessarily advance it. When it would advance it, but it wouldn't necessarily change it fundamentally, other than being more refined. But as a thumbnail, I think that there's not too much I would change structurally about it. I think I prefer the right side than the left side, but yeah, given the time frame, I think it just about holds together. The sky I struggled with a little bit. I wasn't sure what colour to do the sky, so I ended up just a kind of lumpy looking, you know, grey cloud and smoke and a little bit of light coming through, because it needed that light to give the highlight on the kind of solidified lava and molten. What would you call it when it solidifies? Lava when it becomes the rock, anyway. You know, when it cools down and turns dark, then it reflects some of the cool light off it. So we needed actual light source to give that contrast. I tried darkening it up, and thank you. Yeah, we got there in the end. I think that I certainly have fell into something a little bit familiar. Having done lava and stuff before, it's a little bit of a safe area to begin with. But I dare say, as we do more doodle challenges, we may venture into things that we've not done before a little more, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait till you end up having to draw a cute bunny, you know, really anime cute, almost like what they call the little avatars you can put in the chat. I don't know, it's on Twitter or whatever. But these tiny little, like cutesy little designs. I'm gonna try and lock you in on something like that. I'm gonna make it so hard to deteriorate away from what is a cute little bunny. And likewise, you're going to stitch me out to do whatever.
Oh, so, definitely, if you're going to do that.
Yeah. This challenge could be the end of this channel. Like, could really break us apart. James, I've really enjoyed this. And I also cannot wait to see everybody else's submissions. Again, there's a link in the description down below. It will probably be to like a Dropbox or something where you can go ahead and download both Procreate files. There'll be one layer inside, and you can go ahead and then change the canvas size if you need to something that fits your idea a little bit more. But we want to see your finished creations. That's really important. We really want to see them. So make sure to tag us on Instagram. Again, there's a link to our socials in the description down below. I want to see what you guys come up with. We want to see all different types of designs, and we're going to review them towards the end of the month. I would imagine you're best giving yourself a couple of weeks, making sure you get your submission in for a couple of weeks, and then by the end of what will be March, we will record another episode and we'll review all of our favorites from the designs. If we get 1,000, you know, we're not going to sit here for 3 hours and take a look for them. So it will pick our favorites potentially. James, thank you as always, mate, for an awesome episode of the Sketch Wave and this first community-driven challenge. I, again, really cannot wait to see what everybody gets up to. I've already mentioned loads of stuff in the description down below, but equally, if you have a question that you'd like us to answer on the show, there's a link to a form in the description down below, so you can go ahead and submit a question to us. We'll answer it in one of our upcoming episodes. There's also links to our socials down there, so if you could subscribe as well while you're also there. But there's one other thing you can do, which is hit the join button. You can become a member of the channel. You get a loyalty badge beside your name that grows over time. You also help support the channel and all the work that we do here. We've got over half a dozen members as well, and it just continues to grow every episode now, which is awesome. So really, really appreciate all the support. And if you want to support the channel, again, the join button will be in the description down below. James, we'll see each other next week.
Indeed.
See you later. Bye-bye for now. I always change the ending.